And on today's podcast, we got a lot of shit to talk about. The team is back together. Everybody is reported down to spring training. We finally have all the pitchers, catchers, infielders, outfielders, bench warmers, and the guys that we're going to send packing down to the minors or elsewhere down in Peoria. There's news coming from every goddamn affiliate. We're going to try to sift through some of that here on the episode. And with me, almost like always, I got Hanno up in Edmond. What's up, Hanno?
What's up, Steve Snapper Jones? Are you going for the Peter Vesey look with that NBA on NBC hat? Your new nickname, Snapper.
Well, if you look at this NBA on NBC, I wish the NBA was how it was on the back in the NBC days, because what we just saw yesterday, or what you have heard if you're still boycotting the NBA in Seattle, what a fucking shit show of a All-Star game. And it's been a gradual build to this, though. But the NBA All-Star weekend has sucked for many years.
Well, it's pretty obvious. Those guys only play unless they're getting paid. I mean, they had to put another mid-season tournament and put up $1 million so those cats could play hard early on in the season.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started.
I unfortunately sat through that bullshit. The worst example of a All-Star game I've seen since maybe the last years of the NFL had their Pro Bowl. Thank God baseball's All-Star game is pretty hard to fuck up, but the NBA All-Star game, it's been gradually getting this way for a few years, and now it's hit an all-time low. What do you think about that, Hanno?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, baseball All-Star game is the gold standard. We all know that. Football, they don't even tackle. But yeah, I mean, I saw it this year with trying to figure out what was going on earlier in the season with this in-season tournament. But you got to pay these guys $1 million to win, so that's what forced them. But I still want the Sonics back. They should have never left to go to OKC. I would never support those bums.
Are you alluding to that I did?
Yeah.
Ninja, do you got any thoughts on the NBA All-Star game before we move on?
Well, they changed the rules around. I liked it like 2 or 3 years ago when they like upped the prize money, and it came down only to the fourth quarter. They did it 2 years in a row, and it was like the best basketball I ever watched because it came down to like the fourth quarter. But it was so intense that the NBA just like canceled it out. It's like, man, these guys are really going at it. I want to say it was like 200,000 for the winner and 100,000, for the second place. So like they played the top 5 guys in the fourth quarter to try to like win the money and go after it. And the NBA guys were just like, it was the most competitive basketball I've seen, and they didn't do it this year. So I'd like to see them go back to that. That was cool.
You want to see the XFL rules in play where
they're actually playing defense.
Yeah, and the winners get paid, and the losers are finding a way to put food on the table. I'm sure they'll be all right. They're all multimillionaires. But yeah,
I think the format. It's the only time in like you're going to get the top 5 versus the top 5, playing on a world stage every year. Just for that one quarter, just give it to us. Just let the top 5 versus the top 5 go at it. You know what I mean? It's a liability issue, and they won't let it happen. But it was cool for a couple of years.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be hard for baseball ever to really truly screw up the All-Star game. I know that they've had things where it doesn't count anymore, where whoever wins the All-Star game, whatever league wins the All-Star game, they get home field advantage in the World Series. Is that still a thing?
No, they moved on from that a couple of years ago.
Well, we wouldn't know because I quit watching when the Mariners are eliminated by the end of the season. So I never really kept track of that after they did it. Yeah. And as far as, I think the worst thing that ever happened was there was a tie once. But the home run derby has evolved, which people seem to like and some people don't. But as far as the MLB All-Star game, pretty hard to fuck up. Can I say for sure they won't find a way to fuck it up? No, because we've seen things like this happen.
Yeah, and good news came out that Rob Manfred will be stepping down in 2029, so he can't do any more damage to the game. I know there's a lot of people out there that can't stand him and are irritated with him. I'm one of those, but he has done some good things. But it's gonna be nice to see him move on along.
So what has he done that has pissed you off?
Oh, let's just have a whole new episode. I could go into it.
Yeah, well, give us a couple things. Give us a little teaser of what this episode would be
No,
like.
the good teaser. I'm gonna save it.
Okay, this is a
That'll be a good
cliffhanger.
teaser. Yeah, this is a clickbait.
This will be, I would say, Manfred, I might take the other side of that. I feel
Oh, you
like
would.
he's on some things. Some of the rule changes, yes. Some of them, no. But as far as the extended playoffs, yes. I feel like the yeses outweigh the nos, or you know what I mean?
Well, it's going to be interesting. I know you want to talk about uniforms. What if he gets involved with that and then doesn't, choose what you would like to see? I know there's been a lot of talk about the uniforms.
What do you think about these new uniforms, Ninja?
I haven't personally, gone and inspected them, but it's been a lot of negative feedback everywhere, and it's actually like going to the players' union about how bad they are. So there's something going on.
Yeah, I mean it's all over X or Twitter. It's seems to be a hot topic, not just with the Mariners uniforms, but I did see here that Mike Cameron retweeted somebody's tweet that they were showing the new number 10 Chavez, and they were showing the Mariners jersey hanging in a player's locker. It almost looks like one of those shitty jerseys or fake jerseys that you'd see on like eBay or something like that. That's like been in a garage underneath a couple of boxes or something for like 5 years. It doesn't look new. It doesn't look fresh.
I think one of the best quotes I saw on Reddit was, "My Hall of Fame Edgar Martinez jersey was better than this one."
Oh, I thought you were going to say it looks like a Ballard Little League jersey. He's the best quote you've seen. But you know what? Those are the jerseys they wore during the All-Star game. They look good. They had color, but I've noticed the all-white ones, yeah, they do look a little cheap. They don't have the stitching or the patches on some of them. So it's all for comfort, but if the players don't like them, it's not going to fly.
But what they're putting on the damn racks for fans to buy, here's the good news. I'm saving myself $150 to $300 because I will not be buying a jersey this year. I won't even think about it. I'd rather go and find one of those Looney Tunes Mariners jerseys and wear one of those than this. I don't understand the piping. Having the Major League logo below the piping on the neck makes no sense to me. The lack of the weird color, the iron-on shit. I mean, the baseball jersey is another thing that's pretty hard to fuck up, but you've done it. I don't know what was wrong with the jerseys that they've had. It kind of just reminds me of the Jacksons when they started fucking with their noses. And I don't want to sound like one of these people like, you're not evolving. You're not. You just like these old uniforms. I just like uniforms with some quality that makes sense, that make aesthetic sense. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why they would move the logo on the back of the neck. I've seen this Goldschmidt picture of the Goldschmidt jersey. I don't know if it's real or not, but it goes from literally love handle to love handle up around the shoulders.
Well, one benefit of these jerseys, yeah, the last names are smaller print, but at least they have the spacing correct. I mean, that was just terrible the way the Mariners jerseys look these last couple of years, especially the blue ones. Just, I mean, you put that along with these jerseys, and you got a home run.
There's an article that Ninja sent me from Reddit. It's spot where you can go check it out on the Atlantic.
And there's another article too that like goes along with that article that came about a couple hours after it. That is the the union's response to like trying to get the uniforms changed before opening day. And they filed a motion, like whatever, like it's like really serious. Like they're,
It, instead of sitting here and reading it to you, it basically details how the Nike endorsed athletes really aren't saying anything about it, but it seems like everybody else dislikes them. Here it is. It's the Atlantic, and it's titled "What Happened to Baseball Jerseys" by Amanda Mole. And this is a pretty in-depth story, like we talked about here. This article is much more concise, but it will take you through Nike, where Nike's coming from, and Fanatics being like, hey, don't blame us. Also, the battle that is going on with the players and the union over this, and the battle that's going on between the Nike endorsed players and the players that aren't endorsed Nike. It'd be pretty interesting. I have not heard what Julio's got to say about it. Julio's an Adidas guy, so he's probably going to be more candid about it, but he's also one of those guys that doesn't like to just start too much shit.
The point, like the point of the article was that like it's not the Fanatics. Fanatics is getting blamed for it, but it actually comes down to the Nike designers and the people that come up with the fabrics and the designs to use. They just develop that, and then they turn it over to Fanatics, and Fanatics develops what Nike wants for Nike specs. So they're going back and forth with the blame of like, whose fault is it? And it's like, well, Nike, you told us to use, this material with this, lettering.
Do we really think that someone in Major League Baseball or Rob Manfred has not seen these before they went out?
They had to make samples, and they come up with reasons why they use this material and why the material is more expensive for it's more elastic, and if you put a bunch of stitching into it, it becomes less stretchable, was the reason they're saying. So, and lightweight, it takes weight away from it. So they're saying they're flimsy, and they're saying, yeah, they're more lightweight. Yeah, my opinion is, yeah, you should be more flexible with the kind of jerseys that you want to wear versus warm weather versus cold weather versus, you know what I mean? They can look the same, but you don't really want the same material for everything.
Yeah, because the Mariner jerseys, they have some different types of material. The old ones from their midnight blues, those were.
So that's kind of what the article talks about too, is like what the materials that they used and why they decided to use it. But the whole ridiculous thing to me is like, well, why can't MLB players tailor their own pants now? It's like, why take that away from them?
Yeah, that stinks.
That's weird. That's like basically going maybe you got weird thighs, maybe you're conscientious about your ankles, so you like to wear them low. That's weird. It, especially in being 2023. I can see if this is 1949 and they're like, listen, you get 2 fucking uniforms. You're lucky if they even get washed. This is 2024.
Give them the option of what do you want today? We're gonna tailor it for you. Yeah, we need to go go to the changing room and try some on tomorrow.
Yeah, they just kind of look like, if you didn't get to play on the select leagues or something like that, and you had to play for whatever senior major basketball, if you played at the rec center versus playing on a select team. That's what the jerseys look like to me. They look like they went on to East Bay and made them. Whoever said that, they look like they went on, or that their moms went and made it. I think that's an accurate description of it. It'd be interesting if they fix it before opening day. I know anytime you do anything in life, if you feel like you look like a goofball, you're not going to have any sort of confidence.
No, I like Hannah's idea of going to a bicycle full spandex onesie for aerodynamics.
You misunderstood what I said. I said the new ones appear to be like that material.
Yeah. Imagine Julio out there, you run faster, you're more flexible, you got this tight adhering uniform. Shelly'd love it.
Yeah, you in a pair of pants. Oh, hell yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I saw Robbie Ray. He's still got his tight pants going.
Yeah, you should just have the option.
I'm trying to think. You think about how Felix used to wear his pants towards the end of his career. They're a bit baggy. I believe he would cut a hole in the bottom of the pants and stick it on his back cleat. If I'm correct.
Yeah, I think the point is like the player should have their option, of what they want to play and what makes them comfortable that day.
Yeah, because the thing, Randy Rosarena has a complete opposite cut of the way he wears his pants versus Robbie Ray does.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different build of a person. I think that's probably, I could see that's more of the issue with the unions versus the jerseys for sure.
I mean, sometimes you come out in like the really small pants with the really long stirrups, and that's just like, for the day. And then I don't know who can decide that or cut that off.
It's very strange that they're like, you can't do any of this when all of these sports, and baseball's been pretty good about it of late, where it's like your individuality is so important to the game. We want that here in the game. And then you're going, nope, you can't. We're not giving you another jersey. You can't make another jersey. You got to wear this jersey. You got to wear these pants, and you can't have them tailored. Mm-hmm. What do you mean you can't tailor? Your team has a fucking tailor there. So you can't go to the tailor and be like, can you tailor these for me? And they're going to be like, no, we can't.
Yeah, so it's like Little League all over again, where as long as your waist size fits, the length doesn't matter. It could be tight. It could be, long. Who knows? Are they going to go sanitary stirrups now? I know a couple guys still do that, but not many.
They like address it in the article. They talk about that. And I don't get it. I didn't read enough into it, but like it's ridiculous.
Supercross this weekend in the Kingdom. The Coors Beer Supercross doubleheader. Get ready, Seattle, this Saturday night at 7:30 and Sunday afternoon at 2. The 1988 ANA Supercross Tour, Motorcycle Mania, on an incredible dirt battleground that treats man and machine the same way. With absolutely no respect. See the best. National champion Jeff Ward, former champion Ricky Johnson. Tickets at all Ticketmaster locations, including the Bond, Tower Records, and Video, and participating Honda dealers. The Coors Beer Supercross.
Speaking of Julio, he just talked with the media. I don't know if you guys heard this today. Heard a lot of really good stuff. Read the article too that they just put out in Seattle Times about him. Man, for me, I was just really pumped up to listen to what this guy is saying, and just his maturing process just keeps going in the right direction to me. That was my overall take from it. And him, acknowledging how last year was a big learning lesson coming off of the year before. And granted, a lot of pressure on him last year when you don't build anybody around him. And he's your face of the team, the face of your franchise, the face of the all-star game. Shit, he even had a girlfriend. That's a lot of big life changes for a young guy, and, struggled a little bit. Also played in the WBC last year. Really spread himself thin, I thought, last year. I'm really excited to hear that his perspective on the year before today. And what'd you guys think?
That's all positive stuff. He's a very smart young man, very talented. It makes sense that he would be saying all the right stuff. For me, just thinking about now I almost said it, Julio Rodriguez. For the Mariners to have success this year, there's just no chance for him to have any down months like he did last year. He's got to be pretty consistent. We can't expect that torrid, freaking just red hot August that he had, but his consistency has to be pretty good all the way through the season, and that's going to be a key for this team. And he's the type of guy that I believe that can do that. It'll be his third full year. Like you mentioned, they didn't really surround him with any quality players that they picked up in the offseason last year. That they've kind of changed that up. So, it's going to be real interesting to see in his third year if he is going to take that next step and have an MVP season, because he certainly can.
And him seeing players come and go, he's like bubbled up as far as team leadership to the top with all those guys, I feel like. And, going back to what he was saying, just to quote him, and I'm pulling this up in the article that just came out as we're recording this from Ryan Divish. One of Julio's quotes was, he was talking about the sophomore slump. He said, quote, I don't know how it fits in other people's minds, but for me, that was a sophomore slump. I was grateful for it. I was able to learn from it. It's going to help me out down the road in my career. And that's something that I'm not going to take for granted. That's something that I will never forget. It's always going to keep pushing me to keep getting better and never feel that way. I mean, that's what you want to hear. And I mean, we're talking about somebody still that hit 275, 32 home runs, over 100 RBIs, almost 40 stolen bases. You know, the strikeouts were up high. We know he started off slow, but listen, he came off of his first rookie season where he obviously played the most baseball he ever played. You have a shorter off season doing the WBC. You come in with all the pressure. I mean, to end up with that being your line, to me, if that's a sophomore slump, that's a pretty fucking good slump.
Oh, for sure. Being in the running for the, Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers at his position. I mean, there's nothing negative about his season overall, especially for a second-year player. My point was just that for the Mariners to go, obviously Julio Rodriguez will be the leader, and everybody's got to follow. But he can't have any dips, in my opinion, because of the way this team's constructed. Sure, they got more players, but it's going to take everybody rowing in the right direction and have those type of years.
Yeah, it's again, yeah, there is that pressure for the team for Julio to even take a bigger step forward because they need it.
Yeah, he's got all the talent in the world and a lot of expectations by with that contract, by the city. But he can handle it, and as a fan, I just want him to take that next step in his third year, and I'm sure he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, he's somebody that definitely does his homework as far as it seems like knowing what to say and what not to say and how to mentally compartmentalize things going on in his career at a young age is pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, and everything you hear him say, whether it be an interview or even anytime, you just can tell how much drive he has and what type of player he wants to be and what type of player he expects that he can be. It's really phenomenal for a player of his age.
Yeah, and for him, listen, everybody made this big thing about the Super Bowl. Like, is this a message to the organization? Is this a message about frustration? I just took it as this is just somebody that just watched in person a team reach the highest level in their sport that they can, and he's just going, damn, I want to be there. It's more of a personal thing too. It's pretty personally wants to feel what that feels like. I didn't feel or take that post as he's out of here if the Mariners don't put it together. I mean, could that happen in 3-4 years down the road? Sure, but I don't feel like that was anything except for him just being pumped up about what he just saw and ready to get back to work and try to climb that mountain.
Yeah, I didn't take any way negative at all either. I mean, I almost take it as like, I don't know, you're back in school and you're sophomore or something, and your varsity team makes the state playoffs the year before, and then you move up to varsity. Yeah, you want to be a part of that stuff, kind of. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Or like when Julio came up in 2021 on game 161 and 162 and watch what the Mariners almost did. He was just pumped up. That's what I felt like. That was exactly like cut, copy, paste.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's a good one to bring up. I'm glad you remembered that. Yeah, sitting in the stands there and watching about what he wanted to be a part of. Had really no expectations for him to make the club the following year, but that drove him. And I mean, look what he did. He blew everybody away in camp. He started as a center fielder. They kind of projected him as a corner guy. I mean, he went out and he grabbed that position and spot on the team. He's a very driven player.
I just want to check out what Scott Service said here. Here's a little excerpt. Julio's done a really good job of sitting back and addressing, this is how I trained going into last year. This is how my season played out. he admitted it. He only had one good hot streak, a month, maybe a month and a half, and it was unbelievably an awesome streak. But other than that, there were inconsistencies there in his game. He just wants to be more consistent like all the guys do.
Mm.
He's saying, oh.
That was a hell of a noise.
Yeah. Well, and then here's some
Sure did.
Yeah.
When do I get to talk about Julio?
You're up now.
Julio is like going to be on an MVP, caliber level this year. That's he's got to be up in the odds in MVP voting, like at least up there in the top 10. And then I follow him on Instagram, so seeing how hard he worked in the off season and like how serious he's like taking his off season workouts, and then how they showed up to spring training like a week early and tried to be a leader. Everyone showed up, all the Mariners are already there a week early. So and then Service coming out saying like this is the most determined team I've ever worked with, and how like serious everyone's taken this season. This is pretty cool to read.
Well, that's cool to read, but they've been there for less than a week and one day with the whole player. So I don't know how you get around a group and say this is the hungriest group I've been around.
Yep.
I think maybe he was misquoted. Like, this is the hungriest group I've been around. We've worked out all morning. Lunch is still not.
Yeah, like
around for another hour.
We should order some more pizza.
Yeah.
Spring training's the biggest. Everybody's 0-0, has high expectations. It's the most peaches and cream time of the whole season.
The World Series, where a pitch is not just a pitch, it's a World Series pitch. Where a hit is not just a hit, it's a World Series hit. A win is not just a win, it's a World Series win. Now you've got a chance to win a trip to the 1984 World Series by entering Major League Baseball's Grand Slam sweepstakes at all Major League ballparks and participating retailers. Baseball fever, catch it.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
No, as far as Julio and the MVP, let's just pull up the AL MVP odds. We got Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Corey Seager, Yordan Alvarez, Julio Rodriguez. So as far as AL, he's plus 1,200. He's in the number 5 slot. You can also get him for 1,100 or 1,300. Not a bad bet when you don't have Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah,
in the AL anymore. It definitely feels like when Jordan left basketball for a couple of years, and the MVP and the Larry O'Brien trophy there was available, and the Sonics really had a fucking great window to take care of business. Let's just not even go there. But yeah, I actually feel like when you're looking at this, and not a bad bet for Julio, especially at plus 1,200. Aaron Judge is plus 550. Soto 600. He's going to have that short porch. Corey Seager plus 850 with the core injury. I don't feel like that's a good bet. Yordan
Judge is already complaining about his toe. Aaron Judge is already complaining about his toe.
I feel like it's Julio or it's going to be Juan Soto. Unless Mike Trout has a bounce back year, I feel like those are your top.
What number is Trout on that list?
Trout is 2,000 plus 2,000. He's about number 9 or 10, give or take what list you're looking at.
Julio's got better odds than Mike Trout. I think Mike Trout's would be my bet right now for my money. It's good, pretty good odds on Mike Trout.
Who are you taking right now, Hanno?
Well, if we're talking about Julio, I mean, what has he finished the last 2 years? He's been in MLB top 10 every year. He's at least gonna. I'm not gonna pick him just because I don't have trust the team to be first place, winning the West type of player. I'd probably go with Judge.
I know I'm gonna sound like a homer, and I'm a host of a Mariners podcast here, but I'm gonna go with Julio. In fact, when I get to Seattle, after I go to the team store and check this bullshit out, I'm probably gonna go up to the Tulalip Casino with my grandma. Take her in there. She's gonna sit down to get something to eat. I'm gonna tell her I got to go to the bathroom, but then I'm gonna slip over to the sports book and I'm gonna put $100 on Julio.
Hope you hit it. I mean, it's not your guys' worst. I remember last season when you guys were saying the Mariners weren't spending because they were going to go out and get Ohtani. So that's really not a bad take by you. You're up in your game.
Well, the way they were acting, you'd assume you were going to have to do something like that, right? But they weren't. We're not even. We're trying to put that shit. We're trying to put that shit in the past.
Tony, you're hitting every fastball.
Throw something else. Try a changeup. That's it.
Cool.
Winners play smart and eat smart, like this complete breakfast, including Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
There's
Right. You'll show 'em you're a tiger. Show what you can do. Taste of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes brings out the tiger
in you.
Now, in special boxes of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, a great action mini poster of Nolan Ryan, Reggie Jackson, or me, Ken Griffey Jr. I'm the good-looking one.
Oh, God.
Speaking of the past, we got somebody from the past, and this always feels good just to read, even if it doesn't work out. It kind of makes you feel better. Part of the package deal of us getting Luis Castillo, sending over a lot of hot prospects. One of them didn't really work out in Cincinnati. Levi Stout coming back to the Mariners. You heard Scott Service say, hey, this guy's going to be starting out in the minors, but we want to get him back going for some starting depth. It doesn't seem like they have any plans for him as far as a bullpen. Levi Stout also kind of pointing the finger at the Cincinnati Reds organization about their philosophy of pitching, whether he's right or wrong. It didn't seem like it worked for him. I know our good friends over at the new Nasty Boys already talking about this, but like the classy guys they are, they said, hey, I wish them luck. They're better guys than us. But this always feels good when you make a big blockbuster trade and you're like, you gave away the future. You gave away all this. And it feels bad because you're like, oh, that didn't work out for you with this guy. Sorry, we got the better of the deal here. But it's a little bit sweeter when you get this guy back and you can possibly, your organization that you follow can get him back on the right path, when other times, selfishly, you're like, well, I hope that guy's a bust. And if you say you don't do that, you're fucking lying, because that's how sports fans are. What do you think about this, Hanno?
Some guys just click with certain organizations. It's comfortable, being comfortable, how they're taught. So, I mean, good for him. I was reading an article saying that when he was released, his girlfriend wore Mariner socks for 2 straight days, hoping that the Mariners would acquire him. So good for the whole Levi Stroud family.
Yeah. My question are, were they the same socks, or did she have a set of Mariner socks? Did she just wear the same socks? Because, baseball players, very superstitious, won't wash their jock straps or their pants if they get on good streaks. So I would like some of our hard-hitting press corps to ask them if they were the same socks.
I think that was the short-lived Smith and Jigba reunion in Seattle. Because he got cut and then got sent to the Pirates picked him up now. So that was like a 1 week reunion in Seattle sports.
Yeah, and I didn't even get that video out where Hanno and I were talking about him for a couple of minutes. I was like, oh, we got a nice little 90-minute. I mean, not 90-minute. Yeah, we did a 90-minute special on Smith and Jigba, breaking all 34 of his major league at bats down. But no, we were talking about him and how his body size was different than his brother's. And Hanno was really loving what he was seeing in the cage there, because everything's peaches and creams in the off season in the cage. And I just never got around to putting it out. So I guess that's just going to be permanently shelved. But do you guys know anything about Stout prior to this, or what can you remember about him?
Yeah, I remember him always being talked about as far as a higher prospect. He was, they got obviously this third baseman in that trade, and then also got a starter out of us, so that has been pitching in the big leagues. The Nasty Boys will break that down for you. But yeah, it'll be nice to see him get back. Hopefully, gets his career back on track, and his girlfriend was doing all she could with the Sox. So
if you're looking at this from like a fantasy baseball angle of like, you make a trade for something you want, you give up some things that you're a little scared to be giving up, and then you end up getting one of them back for nothing, is always a feel good story, especially if he turns out to be something.
I have a little project.
Well, once again, Edgar Martinez is using Eagle Hardware's incredible selection of brand name power tools for its latest project. And here's a surprise. For once, it's not a bat. Oh, it is a bat.
It's a light bat.
Eagle Hardware and Garden. More of everything.
We always like to punch down here on the episode on the Rye Bread about we like to punch down about the Anaheim Angels. I don't know if I'm at the phase of feeling bad for them. We heard what Mike Trout's got to say. He says he's loyal, says he's staying there, says, getting the organization rebuilt and getting back to the playoffs is going to have much more satisfaction than just bailing and going somewhere else. I mean, that's great news for them. Mike Trout's, a baseball treasure for sure. I could see a lot of them down here in Southern California. Unfortunately for the Mariners, he's going to continue to drop bombs, I guess. If he stays with their organization, he's 32. Let's just say he plays till 40. We're probably going to see 100 home runs against the Mariners. But I did read in this article that I'm reading about Trout. He's been pretty open with the organization, kind of like how you're talking about Cal and stuff. Like they've had this dialogue going back and forth, and he's been on things, been on conversations, and has urged their organization to go out and sign people.
I just find it hard to believe that Trout's going to play his whole career there, but he might. It sounds like it. But if they didn't get Ohtani, they struck out with Rendon, for the contract. It's hard to see them. I just feel like eventually he'll want to go play in like Philadelphia or something where he's from, or back east.
And as far as Mike Trout, he's saying all the right things. On the contrary, you just mentioned somebody, Rendon, has made his way back here. Anthony Rendon, not Carlos Rendon, as I called him on the last episode. The guy that Hanno was praying and wishing we got years ago after the Washington Nats won the World Series. Again, back in the headlines. If you have not heard his interview, just Google it. He was asked if the Angels were a priority, got a little hot with the reporters. He was quoted saying, "It's never been a top priority for me. This is a job. I do this to make a living. My faith, my family comes before this job. So if those things come before, I'm leaving." When he was asked, so is this a priority? And he goes, "Yeah, this is my job. I'm here." I think he said, "Would I be here at 7 a.m, 6 a.m, answering these questions if it wouldn't?" No. And then they kind of pushed on it, and he started to really push back. This has just been a terrible situation. I think out of all the Angels signing, I feel like this is even worse than what was the outfielder that struggled with
Josh Hamilton.
That was another really, really bad one. Thank God we didn't get this guy. What do you think about him? Oh, also let's not forget, he also mentioned he thinks that the baseball season should be shortened. I mean, and this is a guy that plays averages about 60 games a year.
Go ahead, Ninja.
No, I bought a Carlos Rendon, Anthony Rendon baseball card about 5 years ago. It was like one of the worst decisions of my life. That was like when he was hot, I thought I was it was like before he went to the Angels. Yeah, so I got a Anthony Rendon rookie card for sale if anybody wants it. Yeah.
So, my opinion about his comments I understand what he's saying. There's a lot of people who don't like their jobs, but they do it, and it's just a job. That's how he looks at it. But it's different when you're a professional baseball player, that's for sure, and you're getting compensated as well as he is. But shortening the season, it's like the icing on the cake for this guy about all his comments, saying that as well. It sounded to me like the media and those folks were baiting him a little bit during the conversation.
Oh yeah, they were.
So I mean, that kind of stinks. But I mean, all the players we talked about today, to bring it back to the Mariners, Logan, Kirby, Julio, and on, those guys want to get good and be good and have pride to make their craft better. And it doesn't sound like he's like that. And as a fan, if I was a fan of their team, I mean, that would be very disheartening, but we're lucky of the caliber of guys that we have with the Mariners.
Yeah, and I get that too, where the reporters were baiting him like, is this your top priority in life? That's kind of a loaded question, but at the same time, yeah, we get it. Family.
Like, what do you love more,
health.
Jesus or baseball?
Yeah, it's but you also got to
both ways. I agree.
Yeah, but you got to be able to read the room and know how to answer a question like that without being a prick and being like, well, outside of like my family and like my faith and stuff, if you're talking about things that I do and things that I love, this is the next top priority. That's like kind of going like, well, you have 4 kids. Was winning a World Series better than watching all 4 of your kids being born? No, we know the answer is no. Yeah, but you got to be smart enough and not be a prick about it. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple. Pretty simple.
You can have one thing, baseball or your family, go. Like,
yeah. Do you want to live? Do you want your family to live, or do you want to play baseball every day? It's like, damn.
Your family, what? You're not dedicated.
But there's an easy way to deflect the stupid questions, and he just didn't do it, and I don't think he gives a fuck. And if the Angels end up paying him to go away, which I think will happen sooner or later, I think that's, if you're that organization and you just want to start fresh, I'd literally just ask Mike Trout, do you want to play with this guy or do you not? Great. Will you stick around if we start retooling and getting rid of these guys? So as a Mariners fan, I hope Rendon stays there forever.
But it was in Seattle's Kingdom where the Wild Kingdom really had its day.
The most frightful delay of all time was the attack of the killer kitten.
My gosh, what is that? Is that a rat? A muskrat or a cat? I see that. It's a cat.
We had, some stray cats that, took up residence in the kingdom for a long time. Well, this one particular night, one of the cats gets on the field and just running around all over the place.
Finally, another attendant picks it up, and the attendant that got scratched just...
Ow, he's in pain. Look at him.
Boy, that cat is mad, and he got rid of it.
He's starting to run off the field and take care of the cat. All of a sudden, this cat just munches down on his finger.
That's a tough little guy.
The cat won't let go, and all of a sudden, Bird is twirling around like a top, trying to get rid of this cat. He's going like this and trying to get the cat, and the cat's hung out his finger like this, and he's in a whole lot of pain. Finally, he gets rid of the cat.
A fussy feline with claws.
That was kind of funny.
That cat has gone crazy.
All right, that's our episode for today. With that being said, Hanno, you know what time it is. Charge.